Welcome back to the Pontio Podcast. In today's episode, we have Becca with us. She'll be talking about her tips for working in football. So welcome, Becca.
Thank you. I'll do the introductions. I am Becca, known as Physio Becca on TikTok and Instagram. And essentially, I've been qualified for 3 years now as a physiotherapist. And yeah, had a lot of experience, NHS rotations, did that for a few years and then went and worked privately. And now I only work for Rangers Academy doing their physiotherapy for their male academy players. So yeah, really good.
Amazing. So did you have an interest in football before working for the NHS, or did this all developed in recently? How's this happened?
Yeah, so I think kind of when I was in high school and stuff, I was very much looking for jobs, and I was very much interested in sport and PE, and I thought, what kind of jobs could I go and do? And then I had seen, I think everyone knows the Chelsea kind of the really famous Chelsea physiotherapist, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool, that'd be such a cool job. And kind of looked into it more, and I'd seen kind of firsthand some physio stuff, and I was like, oh, that would be a really cool job to go and do. And obviously going into physiotherapy, you know yourself, it's very much healthcare based, but to get to where I am and working in sport, you kind of have to go through all that first. But it was always been an interest from when I was in high school, kind of going through it. So it always kind of was the end goal for me, definitely.
Bro, so what does your role involve now?
So my role now, I'm an academy physio. So normally we are assigned squads. So we have squads from 8 years old up into 19 years old. So the 16 squad, they have a full-time physio, and the 19s, they also have a full-time physio. And then from 8 years old up until kind of your 14, 15s, there's a group of us that would kind of go between teams. And normally each squad has a physio, but just with kind of staff things this year, we're just kind of spread across the board. So essentially my role involves clinics. So before the boys come in to train, if there's any injuries or they have any concerns, we do full assessments, we do testing, we work quite closely with sports science and stuff and look at things. If any of the boys have surgeries, there's a few players just now that are longer rehabbers, so we would take them in and do sessions, and essentially we just make the decision, are they fit to play or not? And we obviously work quite closely with their coaches and kind of make those decisions. And then you have your pitch side, your match day physio. So I normally work a Saturday morning, so whatever game's on, I'll go to that and just cover for whatever's really needed. But yeah.
Bro, so you mentioned about working alongside the coaches.
Yeah.
Obviously in NHS healthcare, there's MDT working is a big part of it. And many people will know who those MDTs are. But
yes.
in football, who are you working? Obviously coaches, but who else are you working with?
So there would be 2 coaches, and then, so as I said, we normally, last season we had a squad, so I would only work with one age group. In clinics and stuff, you see absolutely everybody, but your games and stuff, you would go away with one team. But on the teams, it would be your coaches, your assistant coaches, there'd maybe be a sports scientist there. I know some of the older boys, they have nutritionists and stuff as well, so they might not go to your games, but your kind of MDT is very much that. And then you've got your education officers if you have any concerns, and your child welfare and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a big team. When you look at it, there's so many people that coming together to make that work. A lot going on behind the scenes, definitely.
Is there any additional learning that you needed to have there working with different types of MDT that compared to NHS?
I wouldn't say so. There was nothing kind of extra that I did. I think the biggest thing for me was actually trying to understand football. Myself, and there's one other girl, she is the head academy. She works with the 19s. It's myself and her, and we are the only females medical team in the academy. So all the coaching staff are at present are all male. So yeah, just really trying to understand the game, I suppose, and how to come into that environment as a female and work alongside them was probably the biggest learning curve and learning thing for me. I think NHS, the majority of physios I worked with were female, maybe one or two males, it depended what rotation you were working in, but the ones I was in, apart from MSK, were really female dominated. So yeah, but I didn't have to do any additional kind of learning or CPD stuff to go into that.
I'm getting used to, I can imagine.
Yeah, definitely working with some personalities for sure. But I've honestly had nothing but a positive experience working there, which has been really nice. So.
Brilliant. Perfect. So, what experiences and skills would you recommend a student or maybe an early career physio looking at maybe at doing football? What skills and experiences would you recommend gaining before knocking on that door?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, like that's probably one of the reasons I started making my content, because I always thought of it as I wish there was somebody posting about that when I was in uni and telling you how to get these things, because it's, you see these videos and you see your CPD, you speak to people doing XYZ, but it's always like how to get there. It's really difficult. So definitely first tip is go and try and get like genuinely any form of experience. I've said go and do like your massage qualifications. I know the university sometimes put those on for
Yeah.
physios. So your massage qualifications, taping as well, and then your pitch side first aid. So mine was a 2-day in-person course, and it's renewed every 3 years, so it's valid for your 3-year period. But those are the three main ones, and I would just stick to those. I've mentioned in other videos you can go on and do your more extensive courses if you're working in first teams, going doing like your intermediate or advanced kind of first aidy stuff. But really, to get like kick started and to be the basics is your massage, taping, and your pitch side first aid, and you're literally ready to go.
Okay, and then you start with you would recommend starting with the younger academy players and then just working your way up and working your way
Either
up in terms of qualification.
I mean, I think it's super dependent on the person. My first ever game I covered was a men's first team in Scotland, and I had like no experience. I was alongside another physio, but I had absolutely no experience. I was like, what is going on here? But it's so dependent on the person. I think if you're comfortable like working and talking to adults and you're 18, 19 years old, absolutely go for it. But yeah, I suppose I don't even know if the kids are easier, because equally you deal with the parents, so if something goes wrong, you're kind of there to answer to. But just, yeah, literally whatever you're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong, and there's no correct place to start. You're obviously maybe not confident to go into first team environments, but even your grassroots local teams, run clubs, like literally just anything
Mm.
goes.
So you're looking back at your time at university, what would you have done differently to get to where you are now, or maybe quicker or something like that?
Genuinely just gone and put myself out there a bit more. I think I was quite. It was difficult because I was university through COVID, so the opportunities were quite slim.
Mm.
But definitely just putting yourself out. Like I would have set up a LinkedIn a lot sooner. I've had so many jobs through LinkedIn, and reached out to people and just asked like what opportunities are out there, because people aren't going to hand you things on a plate. Like no one's going to. I mean, I get that now. People messaging me saying, "Can you come and do this job?" But only because I've done all the volunteering, I've done the jobs. And that's the other thing as well. Taking jobs are unpaid. People are so quick to say, oh, it's not paid, like I'm not doing it. Like you have to do the unpaid and the
Mm-hmm.
rubbish jobs to progress. And I think that's super important as well. You're not gonna go in and be getting hundreds of pounds straight away.
Mm.
Maybe if you're
That's a
lucky.
that's a really interesting point, actually, because I've had a few conversations with students about unpaid work.
Yes.
How much unpaid work have you done, and how much unpaid work do you continue to do now?
Now I don't do any unpaid work. All my physio work is paid. I've recently been covering a men's first team, and probably about 45 minutes from Glasgow, and kind of the rate they offered me, I was like, I need my fuel and everything and other costs taken into consideration now. But when I was just qualified and I was a student, I covered a men's first team and I knew I needed that experience. I was driving 45 minutes an hour, no fuel. I wasn't getting paid. I was going on their team buses, and that could be from 9 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night. I wasn't getting paid, but I knew that experience would be like super valuable. The same with volunteering at like ultra marathons and things. That was voluntary, that was unpaid. But when you're signing up or messaging clubs, you need to have some experience behind you. So, maybe even doing the first couple for free, getting a bit of a hand, and then
Mm.
putting your rates out. But it's super important to do the voluntary work, which is hard alongside your physio hours as well, as you'll know.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it's just one of those things you unfortunately just have to
Yeah.
do.
And I assume that unpaid work was without any guarantee of a job at the end, so it was like
No.
completely in the dark for you.
Yeah, there was no guarantee of a job at the end.
Yep.
And I think that's the other thing as well. Like, I went and did that men's first team job, and at the end of, I did half a season, and at the end of that season, it was the assistant manager who came up and was like, "We'd love to offer you a game day job on Saturday, come in and help with the players and first team." And unfortunately for me at that point, it would have been a great job to take, but I'd got my offer with Rangers and it just worked out better for me, even though that was a men's first team, so it would have been great. But there was no guarantee I was going to be offered anything. I also wasn't going in with the expectation of getting anything. To me, gaining valuable experience was much greater than being offered a job. Because they might not have liked me and I might not have liked them. You know, working in football environment's really tough, and especially as a female, it's really tough, really difficult at times. So, you know, it's super dependent on the person and the teams you work with as well, for sure.
Do you mind digging into that a little bit more in terms of what you mean by being tough as a female in a male-dominated world?
So definitely for me, not so much the children and the academy players. I've never had any real issue with that, and I think sometimes for parents, it's nice to have a female presence there. Like I'm always told that on trips. I travel quite often abroad with the boys as well, and they're always like, it's like a mum away from home almost. So they're always quite happy me going. But the men's first teams, it's difficult environments. I was working in a changing room full of, adult men. They've got absolutely no shame. They'll be walking about doing whatever they're doing. And they were always respectful, but there's the odd comment. And as well, I think as a female, you walk in and a lot of players or coaches or other staff sometimes have this presumption that you're there for another reason, that they couldn't possibly be here just because they're interested in the sport and they like the line of work. They must have another intention. And definitely when I started posting online as well, it was very much like, well, are you even good at your job? You've obviously just like footballers. And I'm just like, it's crazy, because then you almost feel you have to
prove yourself a little bit more.
Prove yourself. And very much the same as relationships and work as well. When I started working in the football clubs, it was always like, oh, well, are you looking to date any players or do anything? And for me, it's very much like my boundaries are set straight away. I'm here for a work purpose and I'm extremely professional, and that's that. And but it's sad that you have to justify yourself, because
definitely.
a male going into that wouldn't have to sit and do that. And unfortunately, I have had to have a few tough conversations with members of staff because there's been things said and I've just been like, stop there. But it's difficult, but that's unfortunately the society at the minute, isn't it? So
I hope your like the systems in your work are in place to have that support mechanism. I hope that's there for you. But it is interesting to hear that, because I'm sure there's some people going into elite sport, maybe not just football, and as a female, are not quite aware that these things exist.
Absolutely. I think in this day and age, people probably think like it is over and done with, but I've been in numerous change rooms, I've been on pitch side, and even people in the crowd shouting things at me, or parents finding my social media accounts. And I keep my business pages and my personal pages completely separate. Physio Becca is not the same as me outside of my work, and I keep that very, very separate. And I think it's almost shocking, like, oh my gosh, she's on holiday, oh my gosh, she's having a cocktail. And it's like, I have a life outside of work, but that doesn't make me unprofessional. And I still find myself, even to this day, like having to justify myself in the line of work. And I think that's tough, and it's still something that I'm kind of dealing with and learning how to deal with, with men that still have that view, unfortunately. But all in all, my experiences have been positive, but it's just one or two, I think, that put a sour note on it sometimes.
So a student looking to go into football, what skills, so kind of talking about what we've just been speaking about, what skill beyond clinical skills would you say they should really work on, have?
People skills, for sure. People skills are a huge one. I think working with physios as well, I think that's something physios really struggle with, is you can have your anatomy and your, as you say, your clinical skills down, but see if you lack people skills and you're not confident, you can't hold things like eye contact. You have to have a certain confidence within yourself that I know what I'm talking about. I'm here to, tell and educate you. You need to, just have a confidence in your own ability and be a people person, talk to people. Even if you don't know what's going on, sometimes if you can just have a conversation and chat, it makes things a whole lot easier for yourself. So definitely, like, if you're struggling with people skills, like, go and put yourself out there and message people, and almost like rejection therapy before you kind of go into those jobs, because working in elite sport, a manager is not going to care if you're male or female or whatever. If you're not allowing their player to play, that's going to be their concern. And if you don't have the confidence to back yourself up or have a conversation, like, they're just going to eat you alive in that environment, and it's not nice. Definitely not nice.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned since your time working in football?
Biggest lesson, probably coming back to that, like, just having belief in my ability.
Yeah.
I've trained, I've done 6 years of university, I've done the voluntary, I've done all the hard work, so I deserve to be there. I deserve my job. I deserve everything that has come to me. And I think a lot of people comment and they're like, oh, dream job, I wish I had your job, I wish I was doing this. And I'm like, that you didn't see the 6 years of hard graft and all the money and hours and standing out in the cold rain that I did not want to do. Let me tell you that. Like, all the hard work that all of us do, people don't see that, and it's, you've earned your place being there. So having confidence in yourself and knowing what you're talking about and being able to relay that to somebody, definitely.
Yeah, and so what does a normal week look like for you then?
So normal week for me at the minute would be doing all the clinics. So I've been doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday clinics with the boys. So they'll come in from school. Some of them will be assessed, and then we decide, are they going to play? Are their minutes going to be capped? Blah, 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 blah. And then if you have any rehabbers, you'll take them through to the gym, do your gym sessions, and then you're kind of making plans, writing your notes, doing everything, keeping everything up to date. And then your weekend, so obviously I work a Saturday, and then that'll just be a game day. So we actually start back tomorrow, so I've not been in for the last few weeks, which has been quite nice. But Saturday will be your game days.
Okay. And in game day, so what's the hours looking like in a game day? How many hours before? Obviously, you've got the match itself, and how many hours after?
So because it's kind of under 16s that we do or I'm doing at the minute, you only have to be there an hour before, just making sure if anyone does have anything, you're checking them over. But they don't need pre-massage, post-massage. Whereas if it was a men or women's first team, you'd be there 2, 3, maybe more hours before if there was travel involved. But just now only an hour before. Then you have your game time, and then you probably stay like half an hour, 40 minutes after, just like putting the equipment away and stuff. But I would say if I'm doing a game, it's like 4 hours. So it's absolutely fine. Like, it's quite handy. Less pressure.
Real. So final question before we go into the quick fire question round. But so we mentioned about if you want to get into football, you're reaching out on LinkedIn and things like that. Well, is there any particular advice on where to start with that?
How to start with the LinkedIn.
LinkedIn or just generally reaching out into football positions.
Yeah, perfect. If it's academy or grassroots, what I did was found either the LinkedIn, or I actually found the person's Instagram, which is like a bit stalkerish, but I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I was like, no shame kind of thing. I just literally sent them a DM. I knew they were head of the academy, and I just said, hey, like, I'm really interested. I've got this experience. I'm currently working with XYZ team. Let me know if there's any openings. And normally you would message kind of like end of season. So the end of our season's kind of like maybe your April into May time. And message and say, if there's any spaces for the new season, like, let me know. Or other kind of side of that is literally just messaging and saying, hey, I'd be really interested in helping out, any kind of like post match stuff. And then just like literally just asking them, like, they're a human as well, so they'll be open to they'll be open to hearing what you say. And especially if it's a grassroots team and you're volunteering post match stuff, like, everybody absolutely loves that and they think it's great. So genuinely just sending them a message. As I say, I did an Instagram DM, which probably wasn't the most professional, but
I genuinely, I
it
would
worked.
say, that it is shifting in terms of the professionality of Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
as the younger generations are coming through,
I know.
we're
I mean,
demanding Instagram.
I didn't send like, hey, like emojis and all that stuff on the message. It was a professional message. The
Yeah.
platform probably wasn't deemed professional, but
It's how you use it in a way,
yeah,
isn't
no,
it?
100%.
Brilliant, perfect. So we're going to end on with the quick fire round. That's okay.
Great.
So the idea of this is we're going to wrap up everything
Yep.
we've kind of spoken about in a short, concise,
Cool.
in a short, concise way. So first question: one word to describe football physiotherapy.
One word. Interesting.
Your dream club to work for,
Oh,
if you're not already there.
Chelsea, 100%.
Most underrated skill for a football physio?
Your voice, definitely people skills.
One mistake students make when trying to get into football?
Starting too high above their station. Take the lesser jobs and build a portfolio.
Okay, finish the sentence. If you want to work in football, start by
reaching out and putting yourself out there.
Most common exercise you find yourself prescribing?
Glute bridges.
Biggest misconception about football physios?
We just stand at the side of a pitch and look nice. More to it.
And finally, one thing you'd tell your younger self?
Just absolutely go for it. There's not the worst someone can say is no.
Well, thank you so much for joining today, Becca. I wish you all the success with the Rangers.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.